Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of Drafts with Jordan and Josh. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Jordan Plocker. With me, as always, is the peanut butter to my chocolate, Mr. Josh Liskowitz. How are you doing, buddy?
That's disgusting imagery.
What?
Seriously.
No, peanut butter and chocolate are delicious together.
I don't ever want to be in the same sandwich as you, Jordan. Okay.
It's not a sandwich, sir. It is a peanut butter cup. We are in the same peanut butter cup together because we are getting to that sort of time of year where the Reese's Senior Bowl, Josh. We got to start thinking about this chocolate and peanut butter together. Yeah. Don't be thinking Peavy and J sandwiches.
Professional segue.
Yeah. But no, actually, we'll discuss some of the Senior Bowl prospects a little bit later in the show, but we want to start off the show discussing the talented Billy Moyes Rookie of the Year watch list on ProFootballFocus.com. Josh, there's been some movement, Josh. Movement.
Yeah, a lot of movement.
Yeah, if I had some sirens right now, I would sirens, sail, Josh. There's sails, there's movement, there's all kinds of stuff happening. So we have a new number one, Josh. We have a new number one on the list. It is Alvin Kamara, the running back for the Saints. PFF grade of 90.1. Josh,
shocking.
Why is this man at the top of the list now?
Because he is good at football.
At footballing.
At all the footballs. He is good at it. He is. Saw this come up in one of our group chats, and it's something I've kind of thought throughout the year. He's everything they wanted Reggie Bush to be. That's what he is. I mean, he can run between the tackles, which obviously Reggie Bush struggled with. He does all the stuff in the passing game and just all the stuff in the space in space.
Yeah,
he's just so versatile, so dynamic. He's fun to watch. He's a hell of a player for them, and really has just given that offense just a completely different image, completely new dimension.
And we have to say that he obviously 1,000% went to the right place, though, right? I mean, to play with Sean Payton.
There's no question about
Payton's
that.
been designing stuff like this since Reggie Bush, or before since Reggie Bush. You know what I mean?
I'll say this. Maybe Kamara would be a little bit better running between the tackles than McCaffrey. I don't know. But I venture to say that if McCaffrey had gone to New Orleans and Kamara had gone to Carolina, we'd probably be seeing similar things in terms of production from both guys, just at the different places. Yeah, I think we would have Christian McCaffrey number one here. No offense, Carolina fans, but it's the Saints. I mean, they know how to use guys like this. Carolina's still figuring it out.
Yeah, and they're using him quite effectively. All right, so moving on then to number two, we have Tre'Davious White there, unfortunately in the concussion protocol now.
There was a bit of an incident this past week, huh?
Yeah, due to a terrible WWE BS hit from Gronkowski that put our talented corner Tre'Davious White into concussion protocol. But anyways, outside of that, Josh, he's been tremendous this year. He's got a PFF grade of 90.5, still doing quite well.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. I have to say about the talented Billy Moy, I found it interesting this week, though, that he bumped Tre'Davious White in front of number 3, Marshawn Lattimore, presumably because Lattimore's been out, when unfortunately it's probably going to go right back because it looks like Lattimore might be able to play tomorrow. And this time it'll be Tre'Davious White that's out. But, I mean, you can't really complain about either guy with their position. They've both been fantastic for their respective teams.
They have. We have Kareem Hunt at number 4, and then we have Desmond King still at number 5, corner for the Los Angeles Chargers. We do have some movement there in the back half now, Josh. And, we have some new entries, Josh. Completely new entry, plowing his way into the number 6 spot is Reuben Foster, the linebacker for the 49ers. Josh, PFF grade of 87.7. Why did he suddenly leap up to spot number 6?
Reuben Foster is also good at the footballing.
He is. He hits people with the football.
Yep, and you like his all-around skill set. He's in the top 15 in both run defense grade, it's 87.8, and coverage grade at 81.5. So really, he's doing a little bit of everything. He's been on the field 99.2% of San Francisco's snaps since I think the last 4-game stretch. So I mean, he is on the field all the time. He's getting it done for them. And I find it interesting, not only that he's on the list, but at number 7, Myles Garrett. Finally cracking our list too. Those two, I believe, were our top 2 defensive prospects in this past year's draft. So good to see both of them overcoming some injury issues and just general bad team issues and making their way onto the top 10 where players of their talent belong.
Yeah, I mean, with Foster, it's really exciting, for guys like you and me to see him succeed because we know how passionate he is about this sport and how much he puts into this, and so when you get a work ethic and a passion like that plus that talent, it's really good to see it all come together on the field for him there. And then Myles Garrett was just at number 7 there, PFF grade 86.4. He's just a freak. I mean, what else can you say? I mean, it's glad that he's getting everything, in motion here now. So, sky's the limit still for what he's going to achieve. But man, there's, I've seen some things that he's done this year, Josh. It's been pretty scary at times.
Yeah. How about the fact that he's tallied at least 3 pressures in every game, except for his debut in week 5, which I graded for us. And he played a very limited number of snaps that game. And oh, by the way, he had 2 sacks that game. So he's well on his way. The thing that impresses me the most about his skill set watching him this year, because I've gotten to see a little bit of Cleveland, for better or worse for my health. But as far as he goes, when you have a young dynamic edge talent like that coming in, so often those guys are just spinning their wheels around the edge. What impresses me the most about him is his bull rush. Man, is he big and powerful, can move guys off the edge. When you can already do that as a rookie, starting in your first few games, boy, the sky's going to be a limit for him. He's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, there's a lot of talent on that team. I mean, I know it hasn't really led to the W's yet, but still, they're coming. The next player on the list, just kind of closing it out here, Josh, we have Ryan Ramczyk, the tackle for the Saints. Again, another Saint, the third Saint on this list. 3 of 8 players are Saints.
Yeah.
Number 9, Dalvin Tomlinson, defensive tackle of the Giants. And then number 10 would be Carl Lawson, the edge of the Bengals. And then we have some honorable mentions starting to sneak up there, Josh. The 4th Saint, Marcus Williams, is also in the honorable mention.
Absurd. Yeah, we all start out as fans of some team, but when you talk about being a fan in the draft, what you live for day to day, or at least what I do as an absolute draft junkie, is the hope that maybe my team could have a draft like the Saints had.
Seriously.
The Saints, yes, they had talent last year, but they're an absolute disaster. They had the absolute perfect draft this year. They nailed everybody, and now they are a legit Super Bowl contender. Just like that, overnight. It's amazing to watch. Now, you have to realize that this is the exception to the rule. This really doesn't happen. The only other time I can think of a team getting this kind of production from this many draft prospects was the year the Giants ruined New England's perfect season. Mm-hmm. And even then, after that, most of those guys ended up not panning out. They just played really well as rookies. But that's not going to be the case for New Orleans. Those guys, I think, are going to form the nucleus of that team going forward. Really, their biggest issue going forward is going to be what do they do at quarterback if and when Drew Brees is set to retire. But, man, they're a lot of fun to watch, and they have just got so many great players this year.
No doubt. Josh, as you are well aware, the big news on Twitter is that PFF has released the all-conference first teams. And everybody loves it, Josh. The streets are awash with celebrations. I see banners. I see planes flying overhead. Everybody loves the fact that everybody that we included, nobody was omitted that has upset anybody at all.
That's right. I definitely did not spend my morning defending a pick of a certain Iowa linebacker not making the Big Ten list. I definitely did not do that.
Oh, I'm sure you did not. Like I said, Josh, these have been very, very welcome. And we wanted to start off just sort of like as we've been going, releasing these lists and looking at the players on them. There's so many talented players. Not all of them are draft eligible because we grade every player and every snap. So some underclassmen are just going to sneak on there. But we just wanted to sort of go over some of the top prospects in each one of these all-conference teams. So, Josh, we're going to start it off with the SEC, because it just means more. Is that what it is? Is that the saying? It just means more.
Yeah.
Or is it just
Should
matters
we start
more?
chanting? Should we start chanting?
No,
I don't know.
No, we don't chant. Anyways, we're just going to start with the SEC, Josh, and a player that we've discussed on here multiple times. He's been one of the best at his position, I think, for a couple seasons now, and that's Arkansas center Frank Ragnow. How is he looking as far as SIG stats go, Josh?
Well, I would say, considering what you think his name sounds like, I would say his SIG stats are pretty metal. 189 pass block snaps. Of course, he got hurt, unfortunately. His year cut short. Should be good to go for the all off-season activities, though. But 189 pass blocking snaps this year. Guess how many sacks he gave up?
188.
No, I try 0.
0? Seriously?
Yes.
No sacks? The guy gave up no sacks.
And coincidentally, that's the exact same number of hits he gave up.
0 hits.
0. Now, he did give up 1 hurry this season. But come on, that's absurd.
That is absurd. You know what? And maybe he just had like a cramp, on that, like half of that rep, and so he gave up a pressure. You know what I mean?
We could make tons of excuses for him. Let's go.
Perhaps, I don't have any excuses for him. He's a great player, has been for years now. Again, those numbers are ridiculous, and he deserves to make the All-SEC team, and look forward to seeing him at the Senior Bowl. All right, Josh, the next offensive player prospect we want to discuss on the All-PFF SEC team was Georgia running back Nick Chubb. This guy, again, has been getting it done all year, Josh. He can basically sort of run by people or run them over. What's standing out for you about Nick Chubb?
Well, first, I'm just happy to see him go. Obviously, they have one, hopefully for their sake, 2 games left. But I'm just happy to see him healthy and on the field and performing like he was a couple years ago because, man, he came out as a freshman, just looked like an absolute world beater. And had some major injury issues the last 2 seasons. But anyways, what has he done this year that's most impressive? Forced 45 missed tackles as a runner. That puts him at number 6 in terms of elusiveness, and he's earning 3.8 yards per carry after initial contact. So that's spectacular. He's been every bit what he's advertised, what he showed as a freshman this year, and I think NFL teams are going to be excited about him, even though they'll be a little bit wary of his injury history.
Now, Josh, let me ask you a question about Josh's. So there are apparently 2 prospects, both named Josh Allen. Now, do you think they are 2, or do you think that they are the same prospect and they're moonlighting? Do you think that like the Wyoming quarterback is also a Kentucky edge rusher? Or do you think it's 2 different dudes named Josh Allen?
Oh, NCAA would have a field day with that one, wouldn't they?
Maybe he just really loves him some education, and so he's going to 2 different schools at the same time.
Maybe he just has 2 different degrees. He wanted to get them at the same time.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should not try to limit this man. He sounds amazing.
I think it's purely educational purposes.
So the Josh Allen in his Kentucky edge rush iteration has been quite productive this year. He's actually been more productive than the quarterback version of himself. And he's really sort of stood out for us, as the season has progressed, someone that we've kind of been talking about as the season progressed, and ends up making the All-SEC team. But I know that he graded so well in our system, Josh, largely because of his pass rush ability.
Yeah, and he gets home quite a bit. 7 sacks, 11 hits. So, I mean, he's impacting the quarterback significantly. Also added 22 hurries. That puts him 18th among 34 outside backer prospects this year. Yeah, he's a guy that finished pretty consistently at Kentucky.
And apparently loves school. All right.
Yes.
Moving on to arguably the best defensive prospect coming out of the SEC this year. That's Georgia linebacker Roquan Smith. I know that he's a favorite of a lot of us inside PFF, like the way that he plays. Josh, he plays with the sort of, he's got that physicality, he's got that range, and man, is he an efficient tackler.
Yeah, this is absurd, especially for a guy like him that is so active, so all over the field, both against the run and pass. Number 5 in terms of run stop percentage. He had 37 run stops, 0 missed tackles against the run. That is crazy.
Wait,
he had only 2 in the passing game. He didn't miss any against the run.
Man,
missed 2 against the pass.
Okay.
You look at, keeping in mind that he did this over about 560 snaps or so among linebackers that had at least 200 snaps. So a lot of guys that had significantly less than him are qualified for this. He ranked number 4 in overall tackling efficiency with those 2 missed tackles. So, I mean, it's hard to get any better than that. It seems like every year we have a crazy athletic linebacker or 2 from the SEC that has like 25 missed tackles. Well, he's a crazy athletic inside linebacker from the SEC that has 2. So
yeah.
You're going to hear his name pretty early. You're going to hear it somewhere on day 1.
Yeah, and you're going to be hearing us talk about him a lot leading up to that.
Oh, yeah.
If we were to start chanting on this show, Josh, I think we should just start chanting, "Free Patrick Mahomes. Free Patrick Mahomes." It doesn't really roll off the tongue, but it's what I would like to see happen, during the season. But moving on to the next conference, Josh, we're going to discuss the Big Ten next. I hear it's a conference you might know a thing or two about. Again, you may or may not have spent the better portion of your morning arguing over this list. But so let's talk about some of the prospects in this list, Josh. And I want to start off with Saquon Barkley. And again, it's running back from Penn State.
Well, that's original.
Yeah, I know. I apologize, everybody. I'm sure you've heard about Saquon Barkley plenty of times, but we, here at PFF, grade every player on every snap on every, so we know exactly, areas that maybe they're excelling in that other people aren't talking about. So Josh, why don't you highlight something about Barkley's game that really hasn't been discussed anywhere, but here right now with you?
All right. So people know Saquon Barkley. He's pretty good at running with the ball.
He's good at running with the ball.
They know he's pretty good at catching and running after the catch.
He's also good at returning the ball, right, on kicks?
Yes. He's also good at that too.
Yes.
How many people know that he's actually really good at pass blocking too?
I did not know.
Like, that's been a huge improvement this year to the point where his pass blocking grade this year was 86.2. When I made this list up for the Big Ten All-Conference team, I just assumed number 1 running back was going to be Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin because he's been the more elusive back. He's been the more productive back on the ground. Mm-hmm. It's Saquon Barkley because of his all-around game, and a big part of that is that pass blocking. That pass blocking grade of 86.2 that I just said, that's number 6 overall in the entire country, regardless of class.
He's not a big
number
guy.
2. No, I know. And it's number 2 in the draft class in pass blocking.
Wow.
So just another feather in his cap of, something else Saquon Barkley can do.
Yeah, that's really impressive because, we just said he's not a big guy. But
nope.
And as we know, as we get further along into the process, one of the things that's really going to separate where the running backs go is, can the running back be on the field on third downs? And that's not necessarily can he just catch, which we know Barkley can. It's can he be, effective in pass pro and protect his quarterback. And it sounds like Barkley's one of the better backs in the country at that. So he should have a pretty quick path to playing on third downs, it sounds like, Josh.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. He's going to be an every down back just about immediately wherever he goes.
All right, the next player we want to discuss will also be making a third down impact, and that's Mike Gesicki, the tight end from Penn State. Tall drink of water, this one, Josh. I imagine he's going to be pretty effective in the red zone for people. You can move him out to the slot, but I know he's had some pretty sure hands.
Yeah, Penn State loves to move him out wide, spread the field, move him out wide, and just take advantage of one-on-one matchups against smaller defenders. They love just throwing him that jump ball, and he consistently delivers. He's had 133 targets combined the last 2 seasons. He has 2 drops each of the last 2 years. So very consistent threat, and nice. Just a guy that's a matchup nightmare because of his size and athleticism. I think just that alone, just the ability to put him in red zone situations, that's going to help him produce very quickly regardless of where he goes. Still needs to work on his blocking. Got a little bit better this year, but that's still not an area of strength for him.
He's no Saquon Barkley.
No, he's no Saquon Barkley. But he doesn't have to be, because Barkley will catch little dump-offs and be pass blocking when they're just throwing fade routes to Gesicki in the corner of the end zone against a linebacker that can't keep up with him or a safety that doesn't have the same size.
So moving over to the defensive side of the ball, and I know the first player that you wanted to discuss on your list was Josie Jewell, but he did not make your list, so we won't discuss him. So we will discuss an Iowa player who's been
another JJ.
Yeah,
another Iowa player, another JJ.
More productive than Jewell, and just phenomenal production. And that's Joshua Jackson. Again, terrible first name on the kid, but it can't really blame him. It's his parents' fault. But he has been tremendous this year in coverage, Josh, and especially as a playmaker.
I would just like to point out that through 2 all-conference teams, we are already at 2 Joshes and 0 Jordans. Let the record show.
It's a down year for Jordans.
Yeah. Here's what Joshua Jackson's done. What does everyone look at when they think production for a cornerback?
Interceptions.
Oh, okay. He led the country with 7.
Then that is good.
That is good. Pass breakups. That's a good one too, right?
That is another good one.
Oh, he led the country with 14.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So the dude led the country in interceptions and pass breakups.
Don't throw at that guy.
Yeah, right.
Just stop it, people.
Okay, seriously, that's gonna be fun to watch going forward. He's gonna be in Mobile, so right, that should be fun to see the one-on-ones there. All right,
we'll see on him real quick. Obviously, we saw Desmond King last year struggle at Senior Bowl, but he went to the Chargers, knows how to use him, and he's having a spectacular rookie year. I think that helps Joshua Jackson regardless of how he does there. Maybe he goes and he looks similar. He looks like a guy that really only belongs in zone. But because we've seen Desmond King, be used properly and excel, I think that's going to help his past teammate this year in this offseason's process.
All right, the next prospect on this list that you want to discuss is Northwestern safety Kyle Quiero. Again, it's a fun name. I like that name. I saw that he had put some weight on this season, before leading up to the season. Did that really translate into his play this year?
I really like Kyle Quiero. I think he's going to be a long-time starter at the NFL. There's nothing he can't do. I mean, you probably don't want him on the back end as a guy with, where you have to ask him to do a lot of rangy things. But at the same time, I don't think he's deficient in that area. But, I mean, they put him everywhere in the box, just basic strong safety. And he's another guy that, yes, he's very productive against the run as well because of that. But against the pass, he's been dynamite. 4 interceptions, 10 pass breakups. Both of those figures led the Big Ten safeties. So, I mean, he's another guy, impact with the ball in the air. And obviously that's number one for defensive backs. So I really like Quiero. He's been a stud all year. Was a stud last year for him as well. And so I'm excited to see where he ends up going in the draft and how he ends up doing at the next level.
It is now time, Josh, for the Pac-12 list. And
make it quick. No one cares about that conference.
My main complaint was that Hercules Mataafa wasn't on the first team. But, I got to say, no spoiler alert, but he might be on the second team. Anyways, we want to discuss some of the top prospects here out of the Pac-12 that made our all Pac-12 team. And the first player that we want to talk about was the running back from USC, Ronald Jones. Highly elusive guy, Josh. I like watching him operate in the open field. and I think he can also be used in the pass game at the next level. What do you think about Ronald Jones?
Yeah, and I think he's a guy that has some explosive power as well. 48 missed tackles forced as a runner and 3.5 yards after contact per attempt. So both those check out. Those are exactly what you're looking for at the next level. You want a guy to be able to make guys miss and to be able to run through tackles, and he does both.
The next player I want to talk about is Oregon tackle Tyrell Crosby. He was a player that really stood out to me early on in the year, actually, Josh, for his run blocking. I mean, just the way that he was able to move to the second level and sort of wall off linebackers on some run plays and things like that. So that's how he kind of stood out to me immediately. But, man, when you look at his pass blocking numbers this year, Josh, that is really impressive.
Yeah, suddenly this is a really good tackle class with when you add him into the guys that we knew coming into the season were going to be good. But 0 sacks,
How
0
many
hits.
sacks?
That would be 0.
0, wow.
That's like close to none.
0 sacks for a left tackle.
Yeah, that's hard to fathom. I mean, we talked about that with Ragnow at center, which is impressive enough, but that's limited snaps. And he did that as a left tackle. 0 hits as well.
Wow.
And 3 hurries. So obviously that's number one for pass blocking efficiency among tackles. So you've got a lot of big names: Williams, McGlinchey, a whole bunch of guys at tackle. Got to put Crosby up there too.
No, I agree, especially when we know what he can also do in the run game. He's a pretty well-rounded prospect. All right, on the defensive side of the ball, the first player we're going to discuss is the USC edge, Uchenna Nwosu. He's a player we highlighted at the beginning of the season as a player that we thought was going to sort of have a breakout edge campaign, and boy, did he have a breakout edge campaign, Josh. I think he led I don't know if he still does, but for a while he was leading the nation in batted passes, I know. Just really athletic. I think he can also play off the ball, like an inside linebacker role, but USC's moved him around. They moved him to the left. They moved him to the right. He's been rushing. I know he's got generator pressure from both sides. What did you see from Nwosu this year, Josh?
Yeah, you just look at total production. He's number 3 in the country in total pressures with 52. Jeez. And 34 of those were on the left side. So he can rush both sides, but from the left side, he was most effective.
Okay.
Over there, he had 2 sacks, but he had 13 hits and 19 hurries when rushing off that side.
Yeah, he's just been crazy productive, and it was something that we had noticed last year that he was winning even though this technique wasn't all there, and so this year maybe the technique is improved because his production definitely took that big jump we thought it would. The next player we'll discuss here is Horrible Harry, Harrison Phillips, the defensive tackle for Stanford. He's just been a beast in the run game, Josh, all year, one of the premier run-stuffing defensive tackles in the country. And, still, like, I've seen him generate some pass rush, Josh. I mean, he's strong. He's got that bull rush. He can sort of collapse the bottom of the pocket. I'm not saying he's, a guy that you're going to take in the top half of the first round. That's really not what's happening with guys who aren't elite pass rushers from that position. But, I mean, he's been an elite run stopper for sure.
Yeah, and I believe his full name is Horrible Harrison, Don't Call Me Wilson Phillips. Number 2 in run stop percentage, number 1 in total run stops in the entire country, not just draft prospects, both of those stats. So, wow. Yeah, he's been at the very top in terms of his play against the run.
Yeah, I'll have to check the Stanford media guide to see if that is his actual full name. But
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I will just take your word for it at this time. Now, if I only had Bryson back with me right now, he would come in really handy right now, but I guess I'll have to deal with you, Josh. But we're going to talk about the Big 12 team, the all-Big 12 team, and some of the prospects on here. And we'll start off, Josh, with big-bodied wide receiver Marcell Ateman from Oklahoma State. I know he's a guy that Bryson's really high on. I know you are as well. A guy with a sort of big frame, excels in the red zone, and also can excel, hauling in deep passes, but he's just been really productive all year long for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, he has. He's a guy I've liked since 2015. I think he's always shown flashes of being a top talent, and I think it's kind of consensus with PFF. Obviously, James Washington, he's probably going to win the Biletnikoff And he's been excellent in his own right, but I think Marcell Ateman is the better all-around prospect. A couple stats that stick out with him: yards per route run is 3.43. That's number 8 in the country. He's also number 9 in deep pass catch rate. So you look at some of those efficiency measures, he's way up at the top.
Is that how, like, my name comes first in the show, but you're the better prospect overall? Same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So, or the next player to discuss would be Orlando Brown tackle. He is a tackle. Oklahoma tackle Orlando Brown. Maybe I'm just getting Orlando the place confused.
This isn't France. You don't
yeah, right.
Put it backwards.
Is there a school in Orlando? UCF's in Orlando, right?
UCF is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, Orlando Brown from Oklahoma, the tackle from Oklahoma, like I said, Josh is a better prospect than me. Massive man, Josh. This guy is like got the sort of, that elite sort of, I think blue chip type size, that you would want in a left tackle, but he hasn't disappointed either. I mean, I know they throw the rock a ton, and he's been really effective in protecting Baker.
Yeah, well, when you have a left tackle like him, he allows you to throw the rock a ton. He's definitely a better prospect than either of us. This year, in 409 pass blocking reps, which is crazy. It gave up 1 sack, 0 hits, 8 hurries, ranked number 10 in pass blocking efficiency in the country among tackles. But 1 sack, 0 hits when you're in 409 pass block reps. That is just insane.
409. Very, very, very productive year from Orlando Brown. The next player we want to discuss, and again, I wish Bryson was here instead of you, Josh, is Brian Peavy, the corner from Iowa State, a favorite of Bryson's. And again, I know he's sort of a well-rounded corner, though, right, Josh? He's not just a coverage player.
Yeah, number 6 in run stop percentage, despite being an undersized guy. He's kind of in that 110 or 5'10", 190 range. 110, that probably wouldn't be too good as far as a prospect. Gave up just 49% completions into his coverage and just 3 passes longer than 20 yards this year. So outstanding all-around year from him, and that's going to bode well for his future.
I might not be as good a prospect as you, Josh, but I would definitely be a better prospect than a 110-pound player. I'm just throwing that out there. Yeah, I have that much confidence in myself. The next player we're going to discuss here, Josh, is Kyzir Wyatt, the defensive back from West Virginia. He's a guy who can play either corner or safety. He might have a future at safety, especially because, again, he's, in my mind, from what I've seen, Josh, you can tell me the data backs this up, a guy who can cover and who can come up and play against the run.
Yeah, I mentioned Peavy as being number 6 among all corners in the country in run stop percentage. Kyzir Wyatt was number 7. So right behind him, but yeah, he's in the 6'2", 215 range, so definitely has that safety size. I think it'll partially depend on how he tests out. If he looks super athletic at the combine and all-star circuit and all that good stuff, he could stay at corner. But quarterback showing into his coverage, 49.1 passer rating, so excellent there. So again, he's a guy, as you said, that can do it all. He can defend the run and the pass.
We are now on to the all-ACC team, Josh, and there are some very talented Hokies on this list. We're actually going to talk about 2 of the Hokies, but yeah, we were talking about this before. There's going to be a lot of draft prospects from Virginia Tech this year. So starting them off, Josh, we have Cam Phillips, the wide receiver. He's been pretty solid all year for us, and the numbers bear that out.
Yeah, first off, I want to point out 2 Joshes so far. Now we have a Cam. Our editor's name is Cam. Still no Jordans. So
thanks for pointing that out.
Bears repeating. No Jordans making this list so far.
I don't think it bears repeating.
I with Cam Phillips, I mean, he could do a little bit of everything. I think he's a really reliable guy. Yards per route run this year, 2.89. That's number 12 among seniors. But I like looking back to what they did last year with him when he – they used him on a lot of underneath stuff, asked him to get yards after contact, yards after catch, and he produced in that. Last year, he earned 588 yards after the catch, and he forced 19 missed tackles. So he's a guy that, can do a little bit of everything, including be that elusive guy. I think he's a guy you could probably put both in the slot and out wide.
Now, I know we're going to talk about another Hokie here. Before we do, I know so, when we discuss guards, PFF, we're really big on Will Hernandez. We talk about him all the time. We're also big on Quentin Nelson, but the national media is huge on Quentin Nelson. They talk about him all the time. But Virginia Tech's Wyatt Teller, Josh, is like in some ways has been better. In some ways, has been like the best guard, in the country, even better than the stuff that Hernandez and Nelson have done.
Yeah, that was a guy that you and I really liked in the spring and summer off of last year's film, and in particular because of his athleticism and his ability at the second level as a run blocker. But he's really elevated his pass blocking ability this game, and it's kind of a running theme with all these offensive linemen we go through. Their quarterbacks don't get hit too often with some of these top guys. 0 sacks, 0 hits, 1 hurry for him. Number 1 in pass blocking efficiency among guards, 396 pass blocking snaps. So it just absolute shutdown in terms of pass protection this year. And I think he's a name to watch because while you have all those other names you mentioned, Wyatt Teller is a really good football player, and he's the type of athlete the NFL loves. He's going to go pretty high.
So now what I'm going to just do in my head is just start building a line with Frank Ragnow and Wyatt Teller and Tyrell Crosby that never surrenders a sack. You like it?
That sounds good to me.
All right.
Let's do it.
Now, moving on to the defensive side of the ball, it is time for the other Chubb, Bradley Chubb. I think he's actually the better of the Chubbs as far as how they're going to translate to the NFL. Because, Josh, I mean, he's got the size and sort of athleticism that you really look for in a top edge prospect, and his production has been there for years now.
Yeah, he's one of those defensive prospects where you say, as long as 8 billion quarterbacks don't go in the top 10, which, let's be honest, it's impossible for 8 billion to go in the top 10. There's only 10 spots.
It might be 7 billion.
Yes, but it might be 7 billion. That's really the only thing that should keep him out of the top 10 because he's that kind of caliber of player. And as you mentioned, all around, 9th in pass rush productivity this year. Among 43 ends, number 1 in run stop percentage. So he can dominate both against the run and the pass.
Number 1? Seriously?
Number 1.
Wow. Oh, I didn't know it was that high. That's impressive. That's really high. Yeah, that's really impressive with his pass rush prowess added into that. Like we said before when we had mentioned him as an NFL candidate that he could play a sort of like heavy edge role. That's really impressive. All right. I know the next player that we wanted to discuss here was Florida State safety Derwin James. I don't know why you want to talk about Derwin James, Josh.
Never heard of him.
Florida State was terrible this year. I'm sure Derwin James is terrible. I'm sure he's terrible.
Yes.
So why do you want to talk about this terrible yet amazing safety Derwin James? Yeah,
because his team might be terrible, but certainly he was not. I thought he really brought it toward the end of the year. I graded the game against Boston College, that was case in point for him versus the team because it was a disaster for Florida State. They looked awful as a team. They lost. But Derwin James was awesome. And you look at what he did this year, just a versatile guy that offers something every single facet, 12 total pressures, 25 total stops. But then you look at what he did in coverage, and that's where he really stands out, which is where obviously you want your safety to stand out. Gave up just 17 receptions on 39 throws into his coverage, 8 total pass breakups, gave up just 1 pass longer than 20 yards this season, and opposing quarterbacks had 49% completion percentage into his coverage. So outstanding work from him.
Seriously. Yeah, he's a player that I really want to I'm looking forward to like digging back into his film again because we loved his film so much coming into this year, and then Florida State obviously didn't have the season that we would hope they would have had, and so you don't really get to hear that much about him. But as you mentioned, he's still been super productive, and again, he has a chance to be really an elite prospect if everything bears out like that. All right, Josh, we've taken everybody through some of the top prospects in our in no way controversial all-conference teams. And, again, just spreading peace, love, and joy throughout the land. Is there anything you want to say on the way out, Josh?
No, good riddance.
Josh is once again sick of me. We will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.